Welcome to BookHounds. We have Erin Soderberg Downing here. Why don't you tell us about yourself?
Okay.
Like who you are, where you live, your family, whatever you want to tell us about yourself.
Okay. I am a mom of 3, sometimes 4. We have an invisible kid.
Well, you
And 5, the dog that's barking outside. So I have twins who are 8 and a 10-year-old.
Oh, right.
And then this 3-year-old invisible kid who was the inspiration for the Quirks
Oh.
series. Actually, that's where I got the idea for Quirks. Yeah, my kids started talking about all this crazy stuff that this invisible kid does in our house.
Oh,
And
really?
everything bad started getting blamed on him. And they made up all these really elaborate stories. Like one day he stole everyone's clothes from swimming lessons, and so we were going to have to go home naked. And it just sort of got me thinking, like, what would it be like if you had this invisible little boy living in your house?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started thinking about what kind of story you could make out of that. And I thought, would the whole family be invisible? And started to think about sort of the pros and cons of invisibility, and realized that would be kind of a boring book to write.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, would everybody else be normal? And so I started writing it that way. And that was kind of boring to write because you just had this sort of one mischief maker. And then I thought, what if everybody in the family had a different magic power? That would be really cool. And I could write about all of the super cool magic powers. So yeah, so my kids invented this 4th kid, and I stole it and I turned it into my first series.
Do they get gratuity?
They get like $1 a week.
Oh, do they really? It's called allowance.
Yeah, which I forget to give, except for once a year when they rake.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I owe you $52.
Yeah, so I have all these kids, and then I have this dog. And when I got the dog, that's actually where...
Is that where
Puppy Pirates came from.
Oh,
Yeah, so I got him in July, and so he was this tiny, adorable puppy for Halloween, and here's this picture.
Oh, he was a pirate.
He was a pirate. So yeah, I found this pirate costume at Target, and it was like marked down. It was like the day of Halloween, so it was like $1 or something. And a friend of mine had actually been talking about how cute would it be if you wrote a series about puppies and pirates. And I saw this costume, and I was like, am I the kind of person that buys costumes for my dog? And I realized, yes, I am now that person. So I bought him this costume, and he hated it and like freaked out and flipped around in the front hall and was having a little heart attack and trying to fight it off and like wrestle it off. And we all just stood around and laughed at him. And I was like, this would be a super fun story to write about like a whole ship full of these adorable puppy pirates. So that's when I started writing that. And yeah, and luckily Random House bought it as a series. So they bought 4 books to begin with.
Okay.
Which was exciting because that was how many were in the Quirk series.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I finished writing the 4th one, they said we want 2 more. And I finished writing the 6th, and they said we want 2 more. So
wow.
I'm starting on the 8th next week.
That's like an author's dream.
It is. Well, I was a huge series reader as a kid. Like, I'm an only child, and so I used to get really bored, and so my friends were like the Babysitters Club and Jessica and Elizabeth from Sweet Valley.
Yep, those are mine too.
And so I've always been a huge fan of series because I feel like it really helps like turn somebody into like it's a reading habit you form going back to the same characters.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to write a series, but it's really daunting. And the good thing about Puppy Pirates is each one is sort of its own. Each one is sort of its own adventure, so you can read them in any order, which is really nice. And it doesn't have the same challenges that something like the Quirks had, where time is clearly passing and you have to think about what happened in the last book and what kind of like loose ends did I leave that I need to clear up before the series ends.
Right.
So, all right, okay, I have told you nothing about myself.
Yeah, let's go back to you. But that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm married. I live in Minneapolis.
In Minneapolis.
In Minneapolis.
Not just the Twin Cities. In Minneapolis.
I live in Minneapolis. I live actually about a mile from Kate DiCamillo, so that's that's my great fame.
And you think you contact her all the time?
Oh yeah, we go out for like martinis at 2. So yeah, I live in Minneapolis. I'm a full-time writer.
Yeah. She was writing when I came to her house today.
I was actually. I was writing an adult romance.
Yes, and she doesn't only write kids stuff, so I'm super excited to hear about it.
But I had a full-time job until a little more than 5 years. It's almost 6 years since I quit my job.
Oh, wow.
I worked for Nickelodeon.
Okay.
Which
and
was great.
You lived here, though, right?
I lived here. Yeah, so I lived in New York.
Okay.
When I finished college, I went to the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
I can't say U of M because everybody thinks I'm talking about Michigan.
I know.
So I went to the main U.
Yep.
And graduated college, and I got a job at Scholastic.
Yep.
As an editor.
Scholastic, what comes to my kids' school.
Yeah. And also like the publisher of Harry Potter.
Oh, yep.
Star Wars books and Babysitter's Club.
Yeah.
And so I got a job, actually. I got literally my dream job. So I went out for a whole bunch of, I was getting ready to fly home. And I got a call from Scholastic saying, we'd love to have you come in and interview for this editorial assistant position. And I was like, I'm flying home tomorrow. And they said, we can get you in tomorrow. And it involved changing my flight. So I had to push my flight out. I went in for this interview, and it was working for 2 people. And one was David Levithan, who is really famous as a YA author himself.
I'm like, the names.
He wrote Will Grayson with John Green.
Okay.
And he writes like Naomi and Eli's No Kiss List.
Okay.
But he's also known for like breaking out all of these amazing authors. And he's a really, really good editor. So he was one boss, and he wanted to hire me to work on Star Wars stuff, mostly. So Star Wars tie-in publishing, around when Episode 1 and Episode 2 and Episode 3 were coming out. Well, it just happens that I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I had just stood in line in Myrtle Beach on a trip to go see Episode 1, so I was like, yes, I'm a Star Wars fan. Then the other editor that I would be working for is a woman named Bethany Buck, who was the editorial director at Simon & Schuster for years and at Scholastic for years, and now just started up, I think she got a job at Kids Camp Press as the editorial director. She's an amazing editor and also just like a really, really good person, and she wanted help finishing the Babysitter's Club series on Babysitter's Club by Anne Martin and Star Wars books. And I was like, this is like the geeky me and the book nerd me, and I was like, this is the best job ever, and I loved both of them, and they were amazing, and like it's super fun in there and colorful, and all these like fun young people who just love kids books. And so I flew home, and I was like, oh my God, please give me this job, and I got another job offer. But when I landed in Minneapolis, I checked my messages at my parents' house, and there was a message from Scholastic saying I had the job. And so I moved, I got that job, and I always said I didn't want to be a writer. I liked reading, and I liked helping other people make their books better, but I swore I was not going to write books of my own. It was way too hard. I would never be a writer. And David, to this day, laughs. He's like, you always said you would never, ever write a book. And he's like, and how many have you written now? It's 50. I've written more than, so I moved to Sweden, and did like an adult study abroad, basically. And that was right after I got married. And so my husband also managed to get an adult study abroad.
Oh, nice.
He has his PhD in geochemistry. So an unrelated field. He does climate change stuff.
Oh, okay. That would be interesting.
And we moved back, and I thought, okay, now is when I'm going to start making money. I'm going to use this MBA, and I'm going to get a really important businessy job, and I'll write on the side, and this will be what keeps me fun and creative and free. I still had to travel a lot, and I really miss my family, and I was trying to write a lot more, and I was doing a lot of get up, be with my kids in the morning, go to work, come home at 5, play with my kids, give them a bath. My husband would cook and clean, and I would go upstairs and write from 8 to midnight every night.
That's a long day.
And so it was really kind of tough. And so I ended up selling a book for enough money that I could justify quitting.
Okay. is that an adult book or?
That one was a YA book
Okay.
that subsequently got canceled.
After you sold it?
Yes.
Like Boom Boom?
No, it took a couple of years. I lost my editor, and then the next editor who took it on got too busy and had to pass it off to someone else who ended up not liking it. And it's not something that I even knew happened in publishing. And apparently it does, not often. But I ended up rewriting the book completely. I threw it away, but I kept sort of the themes and the characters because that's what I loved. And I rewrote it as a tween novel.
Okay.
And
tween would be like
it's like 9 to 13.
Okay, yep. Okay, yep.
And I sold it
the book
next year.
You got your whatever it is, whatever the agreement is. You got some of that money, but not
all
of it, right?
All of it.
And then that editor who was going to publish that for you ended up needing to leave, and then it got passed off, and then it got canceled.
Yes, and so for 3 years after that, I had to make a rule that my agent wasn't allowed to call me on the phone anymore. He had to email me, and in the subject line had to say good news or bad news. Because I said every time you call, I'm now going to think you're calling to tell me that another book has been canceled. And so I have just finally gotten over that like 5 years later.
That would be painful.
Yeah, it was horrible because it was a book I'd worked really hard on, and it was kind of like it was the first big sale I'd ever made, and so I thought this is going to change my life.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually written YA since.
Okay.
It kind of ruined me on that.
Yeah.
And
So now you're
kids,
like a middle grade novel.
Yeah, my kids were getting older, and I realized, I'd love to write stuff that they could help me with, and that we could enjoy reading together.
Yeah.
And they started helping me get ideas, and so I started thinking about what they needed as readers. And so when my oldest daughter was in kindergarten, she got to be a really good reader really young. So it was like right after Christmas. And in that summer between kindergarten and first grade, we were really struggling to find books for her because she'd gone through Magic Treehouse and she'd gone through Junie B, and she'd gone through chapter books, and they were just so short. And she would read these in 10 or 15 minutes, but thematically she didn't want to be reading, scary books or really complicated plots.
She needed the themes of the short books, but they needed to be longer.
Yeah, so she, we tried Judy Moody, but those were going really quick. She read a lot of books in the Mallory MacDonald series, which is published by Carol Rhoda here.
Oh, okay.
It's just about a girl and sort of daily life, but they're not funny. They're really, really good, and they have really fun themes, and there's friendship issues and stuff. And my kid was like, "But I like to laugh." And she wasn't quite ready for Babysitter's Club, and so I started writing the quirks, and I thought, I'm going to make this thematically somewhat simple, but with some bigger themes, but I want it to be long, and I made it's, these books are 3 or 4 times more words than Magic Treehouse or Puppy Pirates. And so ideally, a kindergartner through, I actually have a lot of 6th grade readers on Quirks.
Quirks is pretty fun.
But 2nd and 3rd graders love them because they feel like they're reading something that's actually really meaty. And then there's the other great thing about the Quirks is they decided to put 2 illustrations per chapter.
That's
which really helps break it up. So yeah, I started writing this for her. And I realized how much fun it is. These are the kinds of books that I like to read. And then I started writing Puppy Pirates for my son, Henry, when he was in kindergarten.
Okay.
Because we couldn't find a lot of funny chapter books. And he's like, I want an adventure story like Magic Treehouse, and I want it to be really funny and goofy and silly. And we found some really great series.
Yeah.
There's one called Joe Schmo that's really fun.
Okay.
The Adventures of Melvin Biederman.
Okay, yeah.
And he loves graphic novels and stuff. But I wrote Puppy Pirates with the intention of making people laugh, and but making it simple stuff to laugh about. So this has been really fun because my kids get to be a huge part of the process right now, where they couldn't in YA.
Yeah.
So as Puppy Pirates, especially, I write a chapter a day when I'm writing these. So my kids come home from school, and they're like, what did you write for us today?
That's great.
And they sit down and they eat snack, and I read them the chapter.
So you do snack and story time too?
Yeah.
Only yours is like, this has never been read before.
It's never been read before, and what's great is like my kids will get up and wander away if it's boring, and I'm like, okay, this chapter needs work. And then there's days where they're like, read us the next one. What happens next? And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't written it yet. So that's always a good sign when I wait for the chapters where they're like, more, instead of like, okay, bye-bye. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, because we do snack and story time. Because, have you ever heard of Read Aloud Revival?
No.
It's a podcast. Love it. I talk about it on BookHounds a lot. But, they're like, sometimes you just need to hang your story read aloud time on a hook. Like, have a constant. And so I was like, you know what? They come home from school. They need a snack. Let's just read, even if it's just 2 pages or 4 pages or whatever. And it's working out really well. So we just were like, okay, it's snack and story time. I love it. It's like my favorite time of day.
Yeah, especially once your kids get to where they can read alone, and they all have different books that they're reading by themselves.
Yeah.
We try to read. We have a read aloud usually going at night.
Yeah.
For a while, we tried to read a picture book a day because they're 10, 8, and 8. And a couple of years ago, I realized, I stopped reading picture books. What happened? And so we made a pledge for 30 days. We would read a different picture book every day.
Even at this age?
At this age.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was great. And we looked for like nonfiction ones. We use resources on the Nerdy Book Club a lot.
Oh,
Do you ever look at the Nerdy
No,
Book
I
Club?
need to write that down.
You should. It's great. It's a sort of a community of like teachers and educators and media specialists and then authors and fans of kids lit. And people just talk about great books. And so there tends to be a lot of like buzz on Twitter about like books that the Nerdy Book Club loves, and so I tried to read a lot. I had been making a list, and I requested a ton from the library, and we had like a stack, and we'd just pull one out each day.
That's cool.
And I wouldn't be one to read like nonfiction picture books, because it's just sort of not my thing.
Right.
But because of that, I'm like, I can't read silly Mo Willems every day, which is what I'd like to read.
I love Mo Willems.
Yeah, me too. And I can't read Sam and...
This is funny because it's really funny.
And like Sam and Dave Dig a Hole.
I don't think I've read that one.
Oh, it's the best picture book ever.
Sam and Dave
Dig a Hole.
Okay.
The illustrations are by John Klassen.
Oh, no, I love him.
And then another one that's really good that I just discovered randomly. We did like a tournament of books. We went down to the Barnes & Noble at the Galleria. Actually got in a lot of trouble because me and my 3 kids all had stacks of books like this big, and we were doing like a Final Four thing. So we were reading, and we were like, it's this book versus this book.
Oh, cool.
And then we decided whatever one we would buy and bring home. So we tested out. We each started with a stack like this big, and some of them we didn't even read. Like we read the first page and we're like,
right,
dive, like bad book. But the one that won my bracket was by a guy named Joseph Keffler, who lives in St. Paul. And he is, I think, a graphic designer, maybe at an ad agent. I don't know. I met him at a conference. And I had never heard of his book. And I realized after I read this book and discovered I loved it, I read the author bio on the flap, and I was like, that's that guy that I met at a conference.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he lives here. It's called Beyond the Pond, and it's about a boy who dives into the pond in his backyard and discovers sort of like a where the wild things are world on the other side.
Yeah.
Where like his boring town is suddenly like, oh my gosh, I had no idea all of this existed on the other side of the pond.
Oh, that's cool.
And he does the words and the art.
Okay.
And it's really beautiful. So those are 2 of my recent favorites.
That's awesome.
Picture
I'm going to make sure that's
so when I first quit my day job, I had from 9 to 11:45 each day while my kids were at preschool to write. And so I knew I had 2 hours basically between when I got home and when I had to leave to pick them up. And so I've gotten really good at like knowing here is the time that I have to write today, and I know what my goal is, and then if I don't finish it, I'm stuck going back at night, which is always a pit. So a typical day, I get up with my kids, get them off to school, and then I usually go and exercise, because otherwise I'm super crabby.
Because if you don't do it right away, you won't ever get it done, and then you're like frustrated you never got it done.
Yeah, and I have a class that fits perfectly with when I drop my kids off, so I exercise. Yeah, I really do have terrible mood swings.
I totally get it.
And then I sit down and work. And I either work in my office downstairs, I work at the dining room table, I work in my reading chair, but often my dog has stolen it from me. Or I go to a coffee shop.
Okay.
Because I like to hear like the ambient noise around me, and I'll work until basically I get the day's goal done.
Okay.
And sometimes that takes me an hour. And sometimes it takes me 8 hours. Okay. It totally depends.
So this is like your weekdays, right?
This is weekdays. Okay. And if I get it done, then I get to go to like Target during the day, which is really nice instead of having to go to the grocery store at night.
That's a good idea.
It's lovely, but I have to get my work done.
No, I like that. Like, I gotta get my work done, and then I get a reward.
And a lone trip to Target.
Yes.
And then, like, I'll answer emails from teachers or kids or whatever. I'll take, like, little breaks and do sort of businessy things.
Kind of give your brain some time to get back.
Or, like, put together a presentation for a conference I have to speak at or something. And I'll work on that and just shake things up. Yeah. And then my kids come home at, like, usually 45. Take from, like, 5 to 7 or 8 off. And then lately I've been able to start reading at, like, 7. And then I'll read all night long. But when I'm in the middle of, like, finishing a draft, I usually can't read. Right. Because I get too distracted by somebody else's world, and that's really sad. But, like, the last couple weeks, I've been done with a couple different drafts, and so I've been reading, like, a book a day. Nice. And it's really amazing. That's nice. Yeah, it's great. So I've had all these books on my to
like your own books, like grown-up books.
I actually, for pleasure, prefer to read kids' books.
Actually, that's true. That's true. I like middle grade and YA a lot.
I do. So I read a lot of middle grade, partly because I can read a book a day.
Yeah, that's true.
But then I also read a lot of adult romance.
Okay, well, you write that too.
I write that too. So my favorite is a woman by the name of Kristen Higgins.
Oh, yeah.
She writes really funny books, but they're also really touching. So I've actually been sort of like on a spree of rereading a lot of my favorites by her to try to figure out how she does it. Because she's so good at characters. And I like stories with like, I would read books that are just a couple of really cool, quirky characters sitting around talking, which is really what The Quirks was about when I first started writing it, and then I realized it was the most boring book ever, and no kid was ever going to read it. So, so I tend to read and hang out with friends, sit on the deck outside.
Especially in January.
Yeah. Well, in January, I remember when Serial first came out, the podcast.
Yes, although I didn't know about it at first.
I didn't either. Yeah. And so there were like 10 episodes out by the time I started getting caught up. And I made a deal with myself that, like, because obviously that was going to cut into my work time. Right. Because I was hooked on my podcast. I also love the Mystery Show podcast, which is really good. But I wasn't allowed to listen to the podcast unless I was walking my dog. And it was like the middle of February or something. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to bundle up because I get to listen to my podcast.
It's totally worth it.
Dog on a lot.
Okay, so how many books have you written, middle grade novels?
All right, middle grade novels. I've written 4 books in the Quirk series. Hold that up.
We'll take some pictures of those. So,
I'm starting to work on the 8th book in the Puppy Pirates chapter book series.
Okay. Stowaway, that's the first one?
Stowaway is the first one. 4 are in stores now, and the 5th one comes out in July, and it's the first super special, so it's 3 chapters longer.
Just like Anne Martin and the
Funny how that works. Yeah. It was actually my publisher who said, we want a super special, and it's a Halloween-themed super special, which obviously comes out in July, as they do.
Right.
But what's really fun about the super special, so many dogs in Puppy Pirates are based on dogs I've known in real life. Okay. And the puppy on the cover of the super special, it makes it extra special. It's my, and then I have
cool.
2 novels for like 9 to 12-year-olds. One is called Juicy Gossip, and it's about a girl who has to go to work in her parents' mall juice bar and wear like a pineapple hat and stuff. So that one came out with Scholastic about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And then I have one called Best Friends Until Someone Better Comes Along. And that one's about a mean girl, and it's told from the point of view of a mean girl.
Okay.
So that one was Simon & Schuster a couple of years ago. And then I have this book called Moon Shadow that's coming out next year. And that's a tween novel, and it's the one that originally was written as YA.
Got it.
And then I threw it away like 5 times. I've rewritten that book. I have rewritten it from the ground up like 20 times. So, but I love it, and so that's why I could never really let it go. So that's coming out with Simon. But then I have another series that's launching this summer, actually, in July, right around the same time as the 5th Puppy Pirates. I'm doing like the origin story for a new media property.
Okay.
It's called Space Pop, and it's about 5 princesses who live in space and form a band and join a resistance. And then the songs are really good. They're actually written by like a really famous producer and songwriter.
Okay. So does that mean this is already like a movie?
No, it's launching as like 200 webisodes
starting
this summer. And then I wrote the backstory for the brand. So like, how did this all come to be? And so, they gave me kind of the basic framework for how this world works. And then I wrote like this whole origin story and helped give more depth to the characters and like figure out like, how did they all flee their planets and how did this band come to be? But it's been really fun because it takes place in outer space. And it's like many years in the future, which is super fun. So that's called Space Pop. And so I wrote 2 books for that. One comes out in July and the next one's but I write those as Erin Downing. So anything with a little bit of flirting or kissing in it, I write as Erin Downing.
Okay.
Anything that's more family friendly, I write as Erin Soderberg.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you. So is Soderberg your maiden name and Downing is your married name? Yeah. Kind of cool. You could do that.
Yeah. I know. It was a hard decision. Like, so Judy Blume writes everything as Judy Blume.
Right.
Everything
The
from
adult
The Pain and the Great One up to her adult novels. And same with like Sarah Mlynowski, who writes the Whatever After series. Sarah Mlynowski, and then she's written adult romantic comedies as Sarah Mlynowski. But I felt like when I wrote The Quirks that I had to make that decision, and I felt like it was so different from all of the teen and tween novels that I'd written that I just thought, if somebody reads The Quirks and then finds one of these other books, are they going to be disappointed? It's not at all the same.
Right.
And so I decided, and I had always told my dad that if I changed my name when I got married, I would someday write a book as Erin Soderberg.
Oh, that's funny.
And I was like, well, I guess I better fulfill that.
I made a promise.
And then I also write books under 2 fake names.
Did you write some Monster High books?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, I feel like you did. Okay.
I did, as Nessie Monstrata.
Monster.
Like Loch Ness Monster. Yeah. Yeah, so that's my Monster High series.
You are so creative. She's so creative.
And then I write a lot of TV tie-in stuff as Kate Howard. So Kate is my middle name and Howard was my grandpa's name.
Oh, okay, sweet.
So I kept it.
So the TV tie-in stuff, does that mean that like it's based on a TV show, but this is a book based on a TV show?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have done everything from like original Scooby-Doo mysteries.
Okay.
Where it's someone else's characters, so I feel weird putting my own name on it. But I've had to create the mystery. Yeah. Sometimes kids will read these books though, and they're like, "Oh, I saw that one," and I'm like, "No, you didn't. It's only a book." And it's really cute. And then I wrote like the novelization for the Lego Movie.
Oh yes! Oh, I forgot. I need to tell my boys that. Well, the girls will think it's cool too.
I read a lot of Lego Ninjago early readers.
Yes,
I wrote one Lego Ninjago original story, which was fun. They gave me 2 episodes and said, this story that you're writing needs to take place between these 2 episodes, which was like a 4-hour time period. I'm like, okay, I will create something that happens.
So are those the little like easy reader ones?
Well, that one was actually a little like chapter book.
Oh man.
It was like a 10 chapter book. It was tough. But Ninjago is such a fun I wrote the Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Road Chip novelization.
So you watched the movie and then like make it deeper for the book?
No.
Okay,
In
yeah.
the case of a novelization, you try to stick as close to the script as you can. Usually you don't get to see the movie. So like in the case of a Lego movie novel, I had a script and I kind of knew who was playing different parts. So like in that one, it was lucky that I knew Will Ferrell was the bad guy.
Yeah.
So I could kind of hear how he would say it.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to come up with all these like adjectives and adverbs and stuff, and like you
And
don't know. Like,
fits.
will this be a serious scene or will it be a funny scene? Like, sometimes you'll say like he gestured wildly, and it's like I hope to God that animation gestures wildly. And so you make it as close as possible.
Okay.
But you're just adding a little bit more, like more layers. But yeah, you usually don't get to see the movie. You just get a script,
which I guess.
Because they're usually not done.
Yeah, makes sense. I guess it kind of makes sense, right? It's kind of like the precursor, like get excited about this movie, read the book kind of thing.
Well, the book generally comes out just a couple weeks. You know where the movie one is going to be a pug prank in every Puppy Pirates book.
Oh,
in chapter 2, it's going to go wrong. In chapter 3, there will be a chase.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pug prank and the lesson come back in chapter 9 and 10. And just having that formula really helps, like, know how each Beyond the Pond go.
Beyond the Pond by
the picture book by Joseph Kefler.
Thank you.
My favorite read aloud by far is Sam and Dave Dig a Hole.
Sam and Dave Dig a Hole.
Every age likes it,
okay,
including adults. And what's amazing about it is the way that the words and the pictures work together.
Okay.
And I'm sad because I just met John Klassen and told him I was a big fan, and I forgot to ask how the process worked creating that book, because the words wouldn't work without the words. Would be no fun without the pictures, and the pictures would be no fun without the words. So it's just the way they work together. And every time you read it aloud, I read it aloud to kindergarten, 2nd, 3rd, and a 5th grade class this year during my kids' readathon.
Okay.
And without fail, the kids are like screaming at the book, like, no, go back. So it's so fun, and you read it, and it's a very calm, dry text. It's not like, silly and loud and wild. Mm-hmm. And so you can read it like, on Monday, Sam and Dave dug a hole, and it's so good. Okay. And then my other favorite picture book of the last few years is Beagle, which ended up winning the Caldecott.
Oh, okay.
Or was a Caldecott honor book?
Okay.
I think it won.
Okay.
But I love that book.
I
don't like books that make me cry, as a rule.
But this one's going against
the one and only Ivan made me cry really hard.
It is sad.
And hopeful. It's really good and it's really funny. So the thing that I like, so Catherine Applegate, she was writing Animorphs at Scholastic when I worked there. And the fact that she can write Animorphs, this long-running book series, and then write something that wins the Newbery, is, like, I really, really admire her as an author. But she can take these tough subjects and include a layer of humor.
This book is so good, too, because I read this to my girls. Because... like, there's chapters that are, 3 sentences long.
Yes.
Because isn't it from the perspective of Ivan?
Yes. It's
told by
a gorilla.
I love this book.
So, her newer one is Crenshaw, which is about an imaginary cat that appears at a time in this boy's life when he most needs his imaginary friend to come back. So, it's his imaginary friend from when he was a little kid, and now he's in 5th grade, and his family is facing homelessness and hunger. And so it's really, really hard subjects. The idea of, this family with 2 kids having to live out of their minivan. So I thought this one was a really good read aloud for my kids who are in 4th, 2nd, and 2nd grade. Because it's tough things to think about. But there's actual laugh out loud scenes in that book where we're laughing amidst a really hard thing to think about.
Yeah.
Another book that I love is A Snicker of Magic.
We own that one.
Lloyd.
It's kind of new, isn't it?
It is kind of new. It came out maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
And then the paperback came out and it hit the New York Times bestseller
Yay!
list. I think. I hope. But she's also just a lovely person, and her books are set in the South, and they have that, like, you can hear the South in them.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of magic. So I love, love, love that book. A chapter book that I adore, and not enough people have read it, is called Dory Phantasmagoria.
I've not heard of that one.
And it's by a woman who also does the art inside. It's a highly illustrated chapter book.
Okay.
And it's about this little girl with a crazy imagination, and she just imagines all these things that sort of have come to life around her in these illustrations. So I love Dory Phantasmagoria. I think it's great, especially for maybe more reluctant readers.
Okay. And it's a chapter book?
It's a chapter book.
Is it shorter like Puppy Pirates?
It's short like Puppy Pirates.
Okay.
And it has an illustration on every page.
Okay.
So it almost is like kind of Captain Underpants format.
Yep.
Which is another series that I love.
It's a good series.
For middle grade novels, okay, what did I just finish that was...
I'm like just waiting for her to like say some books that I love. Not that these are bad, obviously these are awesome. I love this one. I'm just like, I'm sure she's gonna say one. I can't think of any at the moment though.
What?
We like the Penderwicks.
Oh! That's one of my favorite series. I love the Penderwicks. And what's crazy is we actually, our babysitters are the Penderwicks.
Have you read Ida B?
No.
By Catherine Applegate?
No.
That's a good one. Her mom, she's a homeschool kiddo, only child, you get that. But they live on like this apple orchard, and then her mom gets cancer, and she's like, oh, I can't homeschool her. You know, like, it doesn't say that, but then she has to
Another one I
her
read
to
recently
school.
that I really liked was The Thing About Jellyfish.
Okay.
It's about a girl whose former best friend, but something has happened between them since this happened, dies by drowning. And she's convinced that she was actually secretly killed by a jellyfish. And so there's a lot of science in it. She starts like researching jellyfish and trying to find out, like, is this possible? Is it that my friend actually was stung by a jellyfish? How could she possibly have drowned? She's
I
a
like
really good
Edie
swimmer.
Baker and her princess series, the Frog Prince.
Yep.
Frog Prince, right?
Uh-huh.
That's the first one. Is that it?
Yeah, I think.
And then her whole 7
Roller
book
Girl.
series.
Mm-hmm.
Roller Girl.
Roller Girl.
Okay.
It's a graphic novel.
Okay.
And it's about a girl going into 7th grade. And she decides one summer, instead of going to dance camp with her best friend, to go to roller derby camp. And sort of everything about her life kind of falls apart that summer. Because it's a big summer, like going from elementary school to middle school, and, you know, friendships just change. So I love to read about books like that. That's kind of what Moonshadow is about.
Okay.
And so I love reading about 6th and 7th graders.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's funny, and there's like all this cool roller derby in it. And so Victoria Jameson.
Okay. Jameson.
Jamieson.
Okay.
Jameson, yeah. And she does roller derby, actually. But so she did all the words and pictures. It's a graphic novel.
Okay, that's awesome.
It's a really good one.
That's awesome.
I had a copy of Ramona Quimby, Age 8 was my very favorite book.
Uh-huh.
And I have an old cover, like the old 1980s cover.
Oh!
But all the pages are falling out. But it's the only copy of the book that we have. So each of my kids was reading it, and they'd be like, Mom, the book is in 25 pieces. And I'm like, just shove them back in.
We're not getting rid of it.
Stuff it in. And I'm like, I don't think this book is doing so good. And I'm like, I don't care. Put it back on my shelf. It's gotta stay safe.
That's awesome.
Because Ramona looks different now.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't look like she should look.
You're right. Because she was born in 1971.
Yeah.
Not 2010.
The other old books that I'm a fan of is Roald Dahl. I was a big fan of the Witches and the BFG, and so I've gotten my kids to pick up Roald Dahl, and my son especially he has read the BFG 35 times.
Is he excited for the movie? Or?
Yeah, we watched the trailer, and I think it'll be exciting, but they tend to, this is a source of pride. I do try to make sure that they know that the book is always better than the movie.
Yeah.
So actually, only one of my kids has seen all the Harry Potter movies, because she's the only one that's finished reading the whole series. Yeah. And so I've got another one now who's making his way through, and he's like, I'm almost gonna earn a new movie. copies of books in my little free library
I'm
because
sure
I
there
get
are.
things from my publishers, and so I often start a lot of series out here. The neighborhood kids are like, ooh, what's new in here?
See, that's exciting because the little free libraries by me, not that you have to have an author by you, but like I feel like people need to like appreciate them as like good book selections as opposed to just dump my books I don't want.
Dump the junk on your
Yeah.
shelf. Yes. And well, and like I get a lot from my publishers, and a lot of it is really good, but I don't have room to keep all of it.
Right.
Yeah, and I always put copies of my own books out there.
That's awesome.
So when they first come out, I'll get author copies, and I give some to each of my kids' teachers.
Yeah.
And I give some to like our school library, and then I put a copy out there.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
Yeah.